What up? What up? What up? Welcome back to the scorecard, the boxing scorecard, where I ask people to bring their scorecard and an explanation, not just simply your opinion. Last night we had a super welterweight. It wasn't a title match, just a good fight between the return of Danny Swift Garcia and Jose Luis Benavidez Jr. We can get those slides up. So this was both guys are still getting accustomed to the 154-pound division. So they're originally like they both these guys usually fight at the weight class underneath, but they both moved up, stepped up in order to get some bigger fights. So we'll see what happens. So the scorecard, the official scorecard for the officials was a majority decision for Danny Swift Garcia. The exact scorecards were, let me get it up here. The scorecards, the judges had it a lot closer than I had it. Um, one judge had it a draw, 114-114. I got to start to call these judges out too. This Waleska Roldman. How the hell did you get score that fight 114-114? That is crazy. Tony Paulino had it 117-111 for Danny Garcia, and Glenn Feldman had it 116-112 for Danny Swift Garcia. My official scorecard was 119-109 for Danny Swift Garcia. Now let me go through it. Even though it was a wide score, there was a couple of close rounds that that could have went either way. Now, with that being said, even though I had it a wide score, um, there was 5 rounds that I marked as close rounds. The first three rounds, and and 9 and 10. David Chase, what up? What up? I see your comment right there. Let me just get through my scorecard through each round, and then I'm gonna get to all the comments. I really appreciate. Good morning, David. Um, so yeah, I had 5 close rounds. Now, if my I gave Garcia 4 out of the 5 close rounds that I scored. I gave Garcia 4 of those close rounds, and one of the other rounds I gave to Benavidez. So I mean, now remember again, if it's a close round, it could have went either way. If I would have gave all 5 of the close rounds to Benavidez, the score still would have been 115-113 for Garcia. So I still had him winning, even if Benavidez won, even if I gave Benavidez all those close rounds. Um, to go through it real quick, first round, I go through my notes real quick for each round. First round was very close. Again, the first 3 rounds were close rounds. As wide as Garcia opened it up later on in the fight, the first 3 rounds were very close. My notes for the first round was very close round. Garcia, good body work in the first 2 minutes. Benavidez had some good jabs at the end. Yeah, Benavidez. The one thing about Garcia, he does get touched up with a lot of jabs. You don't really see him get hit with other combinations. He doesn't really get blasted with big shots. But when he fought Earl Spence just jabbed him up all night. That's his one weakness is for Garcia is getting hit. Danny Garcia is getting hit with that jab all the time. Round 2, I also marked it as a close round. Had my notes for round 2 was Benavidez landed a bit more cleaner and had Garcia backing up. Now, just because you have your opponent backing up doesn't automatically mean that you're winning the round. But I do believe Benavidez established himself a little bit more better in that second round, even though it was close, and I still gave it to Benavidez. Third round, I also marked as a close round. My notes for the third round were, who did I give it to though? My notes for the third round were I gave that third round to Garcia. So the first round Garcia, second round Benavidez, third round Garcia again. My notes for the third round was Benavidez. Benavidez clearly won the first minute. The second minute was Garcia, and the third minute was Garcia. That's the thing. Sometimes when you're scoring these fights, especially a close round, you got to really look at it minute by minute. In a 3-minute round, you really got to pay attention minute by minute. That's why I wrote the third round like that, because I thought the whole fight was going to be like this. So I broke it down. In that third round, Benavidez clearly won the first minute. Second minute of the round, Garcia took over And in that third minute, Garcia held himself and won that round, I believe. Still a close round. Round number 4 was from rounds 4 until the whole thing, actually. That was for the rest of the fight. I gave all rounds to Garcia. But quick notes: 4th round clear for Garcia. However, Garcia gets hit with way too many jabs. That's his weakness. Yeah, like I said, what up, Zev? Like I said, I'm just getting through my round for round notes for each round, and I'm going to get to all you guys' comments. Thank you very much for being here. Round number 5. My notes were: the shorter boxer is looking better from the outside. Just because you have a longer reach doesn't mean you know how to use it to your advantage. Benavidez was the taller, longer fighter, and in most cases, not even in most cases, so I explain to people all the time: just because you're taller and longer doesn't automatically mean that you have an advantage if you don't know how to use that advantage. You guys often hear me talking about someone having an educated jab. Right? Again, it's not just about having longer reach; it's being able to use that in a smart way. Benavidez, the one good thing that he was doing was jabbing. That's the one good thing that he was doing was jabbing. However, as the fight was going on, Benavidez was getting kind of out of his game. He wasn't jabbing as much, and Garcia, as the shorter fighter, Danny Garcia as the shorter fighter was actually doing better from the outside than Benavidez. Round 6, Garcia is opening him up, still getting hit with jabs though. So I said, going into round 6, Garcia was clearly winning. However, he was still getting hit with lots of jabs, man. He was still getting hit with lots of jabs, and that is not going to work against some of the better guys, especially at the higher weight class at 154 pounds. Round 7. Garcia, good body work. Benavidez spending more energy talking shit than offense. Yeah, at this point you can tell Benavidez, it's almost like he kind of not gave up, but he realized that he was down on the scorecards and just he was trying to bait. Yeah, you see Benavidez with a nice shot there. He was trying to bait Garcia to make a mistake, so he could land. So Benavidez would be able to land a big shot, but Garcia was fighting smart. He wasn't, he's experienced. He's one of the best guys. Danny Garcia has one of the best resumes in boxing. I'm gonna talk about that in a minute after I go through this. Round 8. What we got? Round 8. Garcia on cruise control, no worries at all. Round 9. Oh, round 9 and 10, I marked as close rounds. I still gave them to Garcia, but they were close rounds because Benavidez was tapping him up a little bit. Round 9, Garcia getting tapped up a bit, as I just said. Round 10, also marked as a close round. I said Garcia is winning, but he can't fight like this versus the top guys at 154. Getting tapped up way too much, not bombed on, but tapped. So again, Benavidez was landing punches, not like concerning punches. He wasn't Benavidez wasn't landing any big bombs on Garcia, but he still was landing. You can see after the fight, Garcia's face was a little bit swollen, not bad, but you could tell he did get tapped up a little bit. Round 11, Benavidez spending more time talking, and round 12. I didn't even mark any notes for round 12 because it was clear by then. All right. So let's get to the notes. So yeah, final score 119-109 for Garcia. I had it. All right, let's get to the comments over here. How do I go back down? My man David Chase, thank you for being up with me this morning. The Showtime commentators were really doing something really annoying. They were creating a narrative as the fight went on. After 9 rounds, they started citing CompuBox numbers and saying Benavidez had so much less body shots landed in his last fight, as if they had any bearing on this fight. Yeah, I guess the commentators, they're just trying to do their best to sell a story for the casual fans that are watching. The truth going into this fight was uncertainty, because what I was doing in my research and trying to see who would has the advantage. David Benavidez, it's kind of hard to judge him, because if you look at his best performance when he fought Terrence Crawford, he actually gave Terrence Crawford a good go. Terrence Crawford stopped him, I think, in 11th or 12th round, but throughout that fight was close. Like at no point in time was Terrence Crawford dominating Jose Benavidez during that fight. Like he was winning, but he wasn't dominating him. And right up until that Crawford caught him in that 11th round. And everyone knows Terrence Crawford is one of the best boxers in the whole sport of boxing, pound for pound. And Benavidez gave him a good go. However, that was back in 2018. And since then, he's only fought one fight against Francisco Emmanuel Torres, and it was a draw. Francisco Torres is not, definitely not an A-class fighter. You'd probably consider him a B or C-plus fighter. And Benavidez had a draw with him. So, and that was last year. So his best performance was in 2018. He had one fight since then last year, and it was a draw. So it was kind of hard to judge which Benavidez was going to show up last night. Yeah. I had a feeling that he would start out slow. I was right in that. I should have told you my official prediction before the fight was an 11th round stoppage for Danny Garcia, because I knew that I had a feeling that Benavidez would take a little bit longer to get going, which he did. Just never got going enough. So yeah, that's my take on Mr. Benavidez. David Chase, what else you got? Danny's body is a small target and he's shorter. Benavidez had to crouch down to Danny's height at times, land shots. Yeah, you're right. I did notice that too, but there was no, like, when you're fighting someone shorter, you don't necessarily have to bend yourself down to get to their height, which is what Benavidez was strangely doing at times during the fight. Like he was like squatting down to Danny Garcia's height for some reason. I mean, if he was doing it because he saw some type of advantage that he'd be able to take care of, I could understand him doing it. But he didn't. He didn't really do anything off of that. All he did was just bend down and give him a different look. But he didn't do anything off of that different look. So I had a hard time understanding why Benavidez was bending low like that. So yeah. That's still a question. All right, my man Zev had it 118, 110. His notes was Benavidez won round one decently. Two others were kind of close. He got beat up in the 9 others, landing some odd punches that seemed more like trick shots or like he was trying for some style points. Yeah. That's the thing about Benavidez. He has experience, but he's not like your traditional punching boxer. Like he's not gonna come with the traditional 1-2 hook. He'll just randomly put his hands to the side and just throw a straight cross. So yeah, he is awkward like that, throwing punches from different angles. And maybe one of the reasons why Danny Garcia couldn't really get him out of there, because of Benavidez's awkwardness. That might have been the reason why. My man Carl from the Last Bell Boxing Show in the UK. What up? Boom from the UK. Thank you for being up and listening. Oh, not up. It's afternoon for you guys in the UK right now, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. Also, my man Zev says Garcia 118, 110. I thought he looked good. Sure, he's small. Sure, he lacks power at 154, but his speed, reflexes, footwork, composure, accuracy could trouble guys at the weight. Yes, here's the thing about Danny Garcia. Shout out to my boy Randy because he mentioned this too. Danny Garcia has very good timing. Very good timing. Because for his whole career, let's go through Danny Garcia's career, because I swear to God, for this guy's whole career, all of his big fights early in his career, I was picking him to lose because his technique is not the best. Like he's kind of sloppy with his hooks and doesn't really move his head that much. So earlier in his career, for a lot of his big fights, I was actually picking him to lose, and he proved me wrong every time. Just pulling up his resume here. Yeah, man, Danny Garcia is one of the best resumes in boxing, underrated. He beat Kendall Holt, who, for the casual fan, might not know that name, but Kendall Holt was a very good boxer. Beat him by split decision back in 2011. 2012, he beat Eric Morales, one of the greatest Mexican boxers, not just Mexican, greatest boxers ever of his generation. Eric Morales, he beat him by unanimous decision. He knocked out Amir Khan back in 2012 with timing. Again, Amir Khan was winning that fight. Everyone knows Amir Khan is a great boxer. His speed and accuracy. But the only thing with Amir Khan, he throws at the same speed all the time. So that's how guys could usually time him. And all of Amir Khan's fights, he's usually winning them. But because every punch is coming at 100 miles an hour, after a while, guys could kind of time that and catch him. And that's exactly what Danny Garcia did when he fought Amir Khan. Caught him, put him to sleep. Had a rematch. Danny Garcia in 2012 had a rematch with Eric Morales, and this time knocked him out in the 4th round. 2013, he fought Zab Judah and won by unanimous decision. Zab Judah, man. His next fight was against Lucas Matisse, another tough guy at that time, one of the top guys at that time. Wins by unanimous decision. Had a couple C-level fighters in between. Then he beat Lamont Peterson, another guy who was good at the time, beat him by majority decision. Then he knocks out Paulie Malignaggi, who in 2015, not known as a knockout puncher, but definitely a great boxer. 2016, he beats Robert Guerrero by unanimous decision. 2016, he beat Samuel Vargas, who's a C-level fighter, but he's Canadian, so I just got to give him a shout out. And in 2007, and then a few of his losses came to the top guys in boxing. In 2017, he suffered his first loss to Keith one-time Thurman. He lost that one by split decision. That was a very close fight. He didn't get blown out. That was very close. He knocked out Brandon Bam Bam Rios, and then he lost a unanimous decision. It was unanimous on the scorecards, but it was closer than the scorecard show, to Sean Showtime Porter. And then lost the unanimous. The only time that he's convincingly lost was to Earl Spence. And that was just by jabs. He didn't get beat up. He didn't get dropped. He didn't at no point in time was the fight close to getting stopped when he fought Earl Spence. But Earl Spence just simply outclassed him with his boxing skills, mainly the jab. What else we got here? Where's the questions at? Where's the questions in the comments in the comment section here? So yeah, that was Danny Garcia's career. He's had a very fulfilled career. So where do both boxers go from here? That's my question in the chat right now. That is my question in the chat right now. Where does Danny Garcia? Where do both fighters go from here? David Chase, Zev, Carl, answer my question, please. Oh, pause it right here. I'm glad this picture came up. Pause it right here, Eric. This Danny Garcia's post-fight speech in the ring was very, very moving. He spoke from his heart. If you get a chance, please go to YouTube and YouTube his post-fight press, not the post-fight press conference when they're in the back room, but like when they're inside the ring talking immediately after the fight. He broke down crying, talking about his anxiety and his mental health issues. And, it's crazy how the mind can play tricks on you. He talked about, I seen another interview, and this one was actually the post-fight press conference where he talked about, when he was a kid, he always dreamed about fighting in front of millions of people. Like he dreamed about that and he did it. And all of a sudden, he woke up, and then not just, I think it gradually came on, but, after a while, like in recent years, he didn't want to fight anymore. And he said that was just messing with his head. And he said, even during training camp, during his training camp, there was times that he was doubting himself, like, because he's been out of the ring for probably a year and a half. He was actually doubting himself. And these are things that people don't think about, that's going on in the mind of a boxer. And everyone goes through mental health issues, right? And I'm not saying anybody's mental health issues are more severe than others. Obviously, there are some cases that are more severe than others, but specifically if you're an athlete, specifically in a sport like boxing, where it's one-on-one and there's no timeouts and you can't go to the bench and put your head in the towel and so nobody could see you crying, like that's all you. So it really takes some serious mental strength to pull yourself back out of that that dark hole that you might be in, doubting yourself, and just not feeling confident that you're able to perform to your best abilities. And you can keep it going. I think there's another picture of him, kind of with the same kind of expression. Yeah, that one right there. See, like, and he was trying to hold his tears back too. Like, he was trying to hold his tears back. So he was really speaking from the heart. A couple of years ago, this guy was on top of the world. He had the belts. I just talked to you about his resume. He beat a lot of the top guys, and if he didn't beat them, he was right there in a close fight with them. And then somehow he got that mental block in his brain that wouldn't let him tell himself that he's a great boxer and a great person. Not even a great boxer, just a great person in general. Sometimes you got to forget about what your job is and just think about just taking care of yourself mentally. So I'm very happy for Danny Garcia that he's come back. He still said he's struggling every day. It's still a struggle. And so boxing, and this is a little bit off topic, but when I train people, not the competitive boxers, but just in general, a lot of people will say that boxing helps them not recover, but actually deal with their mental issue. Because a lot of times, if you just physically, like, if you're dealing with anxiety or any type of mental health issue, if you can make yourself physically tired, like just do something to make yourself physically tired, I believe it helps deal with whatever anxiety or stress that you're going through. You're still gonna have the problem's still gonna be there, but at least you mentally could kind of handle it a little bit better through boxing. So that's my little shout out there for anyone going through any mental health issues. Stay strong, stay positive, and get yourself into a boxing gym, or hit me up at Cedric Sports. Yes, we got some more comments coming in. My man Chris Peter says, worst case, I see it 8-4 for Garcia. Should have been 12-2 for Garcia. Yep. I definitely could see that, Chris Peters. Yeah. I guess the 8-4, the couple of rounds that the judges did give to Benavidez. I'd like to know which rounds exactly that they were. The same way how I tell you guys the exact rounds that I have that I marked close. I'd love to know the rounds that the judges had marked for Benavidez, because that'd be very, very interesting. So yeah, where does Benavidez go from here? As he's looked kind of shaky in his last two starts. He in his last fight he had a draw against a journeyman, and then this fight he just had a loss against Danny Garcia, one of the best. Well, and that's the thing though. Danny Garcia is probably one of the best at 147, at 147 pounds, but at 154, it's a different ball game. You might not think it's too much because it's just one weight class up, but there are some sharks in that water at 154 pounds. Chris Peters, what are you saying? After looking like an Ottoman in his last few bouts, it was nice to see Garcia looking active and energetic. Yes, exactly. And I think it more had to do with the mental health issues that he was going through, because his last fight against Errol Spence, like I said, he lost convincingly, but he didn't get beat up or seriously hurt. He just lost by simply being outboxed by Errol Spence. Errol Spence just jabbed the F out of him all night long, and Garcia couldn't handle it. And then the fight before that against Red Catch, what's his name? Against Red Catch. Red Catch is another a guy that's Garcia won that fight by unanimous decision and went the full distance, but Ivan Red Catch is one of those guys that's kind of awkward, kind of like how I described Benavidez, and that it's hard to time him because he's just always doing awkward stuff that's hard to get to him. So what is next? Sorry, I don't think I finished saying what was next for Benavidez. What is next for Benavidez is he needs to get back in the gym and get more active. How old is Mr. Benavidez here? Let me check his age and go from there. He is 30 years old. No, he has 30 bouts. Yeah, he's 30 years old too. So yeah, he still has time. He still has time to come back and make something of himself. If he's gonna stay at 154 pounds, he needs to tighten up that defense and just be more active. Like I said, when he did the same thing when he fought Terrence Crawford. After a while, when he was getting frustrated that he couldn't get to him, and all he would do is just put his hands down, stick his tongue out, just kind of showboat to try to throw his opponent off. But against the top level guys, that stuff doesn't work. David Chase says, you got 2 comments here. Oh, we got more. Whoa. We got way more. Sorry, I missed a lot here. My man Carl says, mental health, men must get better at talking. Yeah, you're right, man. You know how guys are just in general. Guys try to just tough it out and not talk about their issues, but it's okay, man. I mean, some females too. Some people can handle it themselves and just need to be alone for a little bit just to handle their personal issues. But some people need someone to talk to, but they have a barrier. Specifically with guys, they have their pride won't let them talk to someone. So yeah, do that. If you don't want to talk, at least here's this. If you don't want to talk to someone, just join a boxing gym and just go smash the bag. At least that's the least thing you could do. All right, I promise that'll help with some of the deal with the anxiety and issues. My man David Chase says, if Garcia chooses to remain at 154, his career will definitely be over. Danny gives up too much height, reach, and weight come fight night. Garcia is 5'8" tall with a 68-inch reach. Thank you for those statistics on Danny Garcia's reach. And I agree with you, man. At 154 pounds, he's gonna really have to use his timing and power to try to keep these guys off of him, because that he fought Earl Spence at 147 pounds. Earl Spence just boxed the crap out of him just with a jab. He didn't, like I said, Earl Spence never hurt him, but at no point in time did anybody see Danny Garcia winning that fight or even being in the fight. So if he's going to be staying at 154, and how old is Danny Garcia, by the way? Let's check how old he is. Hold on 1 second here. Danny Garcia is 34 years old. All right. So he's on the last. He probably 34 years old. He's probably a fight till he's probably 37, 38. His record as of now is 37 wins, 21 knockouts with 3 losses. Danny Garcia once again has one of the best resumes in boxing. Go look it up right now if you don't believe me. So what is next for him? If he's staying at 154, yeah, man, there's a lot of big sharks at 154. That fight with him and Tony Harrison is very interesting. Shout out to my boy Tony Harrison, right across the board. We go to his gym for sparring a lot. Financially, Danny Garcia brings more to the table financially, but skills wise, I think Harrison would get Danny Garcia. What do you guys think in the chat here? Oh, we got a lot more comments. I'm gonna get to these comments in a second, but yeah, at 154, you had Tony Harrison. Very interesting that Danny Garcia called out Lara and who's the other guy he called out? Oh yeah, Keith Thurman. That would be very interesting. That would be very interesting. Keith Thurman versus Danny Garcia. I would like to see that rematch again, because that was a very close fight the first time. What other comments we got here? David Chase. Charlo, on the other hand, is 6 foot with 73-inch reach at 104. Yeah, man. Garcia versus Charlo, I don't know. That'd be very tough for Mr. Garcia. My man Zev says Danny Garcia at this point will be a stepping stone for up-and-coming 54-pounders. He may be able to beat some C or B level fighters, but I don't think he will ever get a belt at that weight. Well, that's the reason why he was calling out Arislandi Lara, because Lara has like a not one of the major ones, but I think a WBA or WBO belt at 154. And if he can get that belt, that might entice one of the other guys at 154 to fight him for that. I know Garcia's been talking about he'd like to have a he'd like to relive that rematch with Earl Spence, but I don't think that would go well for him right now. Let me get a couple more wins, especially at 154. What else you got, Zev? Zev says Garcia has no real power at 147. He's going to be tiny at 154. If somehow he gets a shot at Charlo, he will lose by brutal KO. Even the limited Tim Tszyu would take him out. He said brutal KO. Hey, you're serious. Well, again, the thing is, Garcia's defensive weakness is how many times he gets hit with jabs. Like it kills me for someone at such a high level who's fought the guys that he's fought, some of the best guys in the sport throughout his career. He gets hit with way more jabs than he should be, way more jabs. And if guys took more advantage of that, then because the jab starts every single combination. Not that it has to start it, but it makes everything easier if you can establish your jab a lot better. And yeah, that's Garcia's weakness is how much times he gets hit with a jab. So I don't know about brutal KO. Again, it's possible because Charlo, that guy he doesn't play with his power, man. Charlo has some serious KO power. So yeah, it is a possibility. Tim Tszyu, I think Tim Tszyu needs a little bit more experience, man. Like Tim Tszyu looks good. He looked good in his last fight when he fought Terrell Gausha. He looked good against Terrell Gausha, but that was his biggest name on his career. Again, you look at Garcia's resume. It was, even though it was in the lower weight classes, yes, it was at the lower weight classes, but just his experience fighting top level guys. So the only way it would be even, I guess, would be because the fight would be at 154 pounds with Tim Tszyu. But Danny Garcia versus Tim Tszyu, first of all, that fight wouldn't happen right now financially because Tim Tszyu doesn't bring enough to the table for Danny Garcia to take that challenge. So that fight wouldn't happen. Charlo, again, if Garcia could get that belt from Lara, that might entice Charlo to take that fight and get another belt. What else? We got a few more comments in here. My man Nick Leishman says, yes, Benavidez wasn't a real 154, but the speed and movement could be an issue along with the hand speed and counters. Also, don't forget Charlo struggled mighty against Harrison's movement and counters. Yes, that is right. That is right. In both of those fights, when Tony Harrison fought Jermell Charlo, I had Tony Harrison winning both of those fights. First fight was actually closer. The first fight was closer. The second fight, I had Tony Harrison winning, clearly winning up until the time he got stopped. So yes, it did. Charlo does have trouble with guys that have good boxing skills. He does knock him out in the rematch, though. Both rematches that Charlo had with the guys that outboxed him in the first fight, he knocked them both out in the rematch. So that'd be interesting for Charlo. Nick says, not saying Garcia beats Charlo, but it might be interesting. Yeah. Like I just said, it would be interesting. My man Carl says Tim Tszyu is bang average and will get found out even at world level. Never mind elite level. Tim Tszyu hype job. Okay. We see the Carl. Well, when we say hype job, give him a chance. Let's give him a chance to see how he does against the top level guys first before we call him a hype job. If he fights the top level guys and he doesn't look good, or even worst case scenario gets stopped or something like that, then we would call him a hype job. But he hasn't really. His best competition so far is Terrell Gausha, who was a 2012 Olympian, not a knockout puncher, but a very good skilled boxer. And I believe Tim Tszyu stopped him in that fight. Did Tim Tszyu stop him? Somebody in the chat, let me know. I know Tim Tszyu got dropped early in the fight. He got dropped early in the first or second round, but weathered the storm and came back, living off of his dad's name. I mean, that's the promoter, that's just the promoter trying to make the most out of and make the most money out of their product, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term. The same way how they're doing with Muhammad Ali's grandson, Nico Ali Walsh. Every single time you hear his name on TV, they're mentioning Muhammad Ali right next to it. it just helps promote the fighter. And I mean, it's really for the promotion of the fighter, not to say that Tim Tszyu or Nico Ali Walsh is going to be exactly like their father or grandfather, but it just helps bring the casual fan, just bring more casual fans to the sport to watch it, because they might recognize that name. What else you saying, Carl? Has a great aunt from Canada somewhere. Passport application. No. Well, you know what? I don't mind. But Canada, we need some good boxes. So yeah, well, I'll send Tim Tszyu the passport application. See if he wants to come train at my gym. And there you have it. 35 minutes I've been talking for. Wow, man. Any more questions or comments? Thank you very much for you guys for getting up this early with me, or for you guys in other countries it's already afternoon times. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to listen to me, listen to my breakdown of the fights. Really appreciate it. Don't forget, every Sunday 9:30 a.m. Canadian Eastern Time, the Scorecard, boxing Scorecard. Yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to my boy Carl from Last Bell Boxing Show. They go live every Thursday. Thoughts on Jake Paul's cancellation, man? Obviously, I just read the headline. I didn't click on anything to see the exact reason why, but I'm assuming it just got canceled because there was no hype behind it. Like, that fight was supposed to be next week. Like, there was no hype behind it like in the other fights. I think in his other fights, in Jake Paul's other fights, like, he actually fought, even though they weren't real boxers, but he actually fought like household names. He fought whether it was I'll give you one word, circus. Yeah, I mean, it's a circus, but again, for a promoter, financially, he's bringing more people to the sport. You know what's crazy? I get random people that I know don't really watch boxing regularly, that will text me or send me a DM asking me about the Paul brothers and their, who they're fighting. So for hardcore boxing fans, yes, we look at these guys like, what is this circus act like? What is going on? What we do have to give them credit for is attracting more attention to the sport. Because remember, these guys didn't have to box. Both these Paul brothers, before these guys even got into boxing, these guys had like 35 million followers on YouTube. All right, so it's not like they got into boxing to make themselves more popular. These guys were already millionaires, multimillionaires with 35 million followers on YouTube before they started boxing. So with that being said, even though they the way they talk and stuff like that, they're very good at getting their name out there, but they're bringing more money to the sport. So that's the one thing I could say. Carl, what are you saying here? And the WC, we're going to give ranking points to Jake Paul. Disgrace. I don't know. Are you sure about that? Were they really going to give him ranking points for? Anyways, I don't know. That's a whole different story, man. That's a whole different story. This was actually the first actual boxer that he was going to face. A C-level boxer, but at least he was a professional boxer himself. So, and if you think about it, like, he's actually moved up in competition slowly. Like, just think about this for a second. His first fight, and sometimes I confuse the brothers, so sometimes, sorry if I'm wrong with this, but his first fight was against a YouTuber, right? His first fight was against a YouTuber. His second fight was against a basketball player, at least a professional athlete, right? So at least a small step up. He fought a professional athlete. His next two fights were against. His next fight was against an MMA guy, not definitely not known as a striker, but an MMA guy, wrestler, Ben Askren. And then his fourth fight was against a UFC Hall of Famer in Tyrone Woodley. Again, a wrestler not known for his striking skills, but still a UFC Hall of Famer. And that's who. So if you look at his fights, he actually has stepped up the competition slowly. And this next fight that got canceled against Hasim Rahman Jr. was, again, a step up, because this was his actual first fight against a real boxer. So it would have been interesting to see how he would have done. But they canceled it probably because nobody was talking about it. There was no hype behind it. So yeah, and there you have it. So thank you once again. Don't forget, if you can't catch the show live, you can catch it on anywhere you could listen to your podcast, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and of course live on YouTube. All right. Do me a favor, please, if you haven't done it yet, please like this video so you get fit more into the algorithm things, whatever they call it, and like, share, and tell a friend to tell a friend. All right, man. The scorecard, the boxing scorecard. Oh, we got some more comments coming in. Every time I try to get out, they pull me back in. Carl, what are you saying? I doubt the effort is just the fact of boxers coming up the hard way without opportunities. Without the fact effort of boxers. Well, what? I don't doubt. Oh, I don't doubt the effort. It is just the fact of boxers coming up the hard way without opportunities. Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Working the small hall shows and crafting over the years to get onto the big shows just seems unfair. Cheers. I hear you, man. Like they kind of skip the line. I understand what you're saying, Carl. Usually, boxers when you turn pro, you're fighting on smaller shows. There's not too many people in the crowd, and then you work your way up. You work your way up from there to the bigger shows and the bigger crowds. These guys just hop right off the gate to the big shows, which again, you have to slightly give them credit for, man, because anybody that's had a boxing match before knows it's one thing to just spar somebody in a gym, even if it's a good box. It's one thing to spar in a gym when there's just a few coaches and a few other boxers around, and it's a whole different ball game when you actually get into a real fight and you turn around and there's an amateur show, it might be not thousands of people, but at least a couple of hundred people, and they're screaming out loud and the bright lights are on you and everyone is staring right at you to watch what you're gonna do. Mentally, that's another thing. So you got to give them guys credit, because remember, them Paul brothers, they've had zero amateur experience, like zero amateur fights, and just hopping right into the pro scene. That's you still got to give them a little bit of credit for that. Yes, when they're on the microphone talking and just talking their shit, they do what they do to make money, but they do put in that work. That's one thing I could say. When they're in the gym, because I did a little bit of research. I see the gyms that the Paul brothers are training at. I see their coaches that they're working with, their sparring partners, and they actually are putting in work. That's the crazy thing, that the way they talk on the microphone and when they're just inside the gym, it's like two different people. So I guess people get confused by that sometimes. Yeah. You do take your head off to his promotional skills. Exactly. That's what I was saying, man. These guys are great promoters. They're great promoters when I know someone's a great promoter when, again, like I said before, people that I know don't watch boxing will text me or DM me and ask me about them. So yeah, they're doing their good job of getting their name out there. And yeah. So there you have it. Once again, now I'm gonna close it out for real this time. All right. I'll see you guys next week. Hit me up on any social media at Cedric Sports and at Talkin Fight YouTube channel. All right, man. Peace.